Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. My name is Julian, and in today's episode, we're continuing our series of videos talking about each individual NHL team, talking about their players, what I think they're going to do for fantasy this year, if I like them, if I don't like them, and if you should draft them. In this episode, we're obviously talking about the Montreal Canadiens. So before we get started, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs this year, so hit that button, guys. It's absolutely free. It would mean the world to me. So without further ado, let's jump into their lines. And right now in training camp, it's looking like their lines are Toffoli, Suzuki, Caufield, which was expected, Drouin, Dvorak, and Josh Anderson, which is interesting, but Gallagher has not been to training camp yet, and Hoffman is injured. So whether that line sticks, I'm not sure, but that's the line right now, which would make for a third line of Hoffman, Poehling, and Gallagher, or Evans in center. I think Poehling is going to take a step up, though, and be that third line center, and a fourth line of Lehkonen, Evans, and Armia. Now, with Hoffman gone, it's likely that Armia gets that third line with Poehling and Gallagher, but it is to be seen. On defense, we got Edmundson, Petry, Romanov, Savard, Sherratt, Wideman, and in nets, we got Price and Jake Allen. So first on my list, guys, is Carey Price, and his ADP right now is about 62. He is the 11th goalie going off the board. Do I like that? I do, if he can stay healthy, right? At the moment, he's not healthy. He's projected to miss possibly the first couple games of the season. If he can stay healthy, and he looks like the Carey Price that he looked like this playoffs, he's going to start almost all the games for Montreal, and he's going to look great. And I'm exaggerating with all the games. They're definitely going to want to rest him, give Jake Allen some games, but he should start like 70% of the games, right? He's Carey Price. He's getting paid big bucks. So if he does finally be healthy and look good, start a lot of the games, Price is definitely worth this ADP. If he's kind of sluggish, not healthy, then Allen's going to get maybe 50% of the starts, and then Price is not worth his ADP. So it's a matter of how you see Price's health doing this year, right? I can't predict if he's going to get hurt or not, right? It's not something that I can predict. So at this ADP, it makes sense if he can stay healthy the entire year. Next is Nick Suzuki, and he's being drafted in 92% of leagues. Being drafted at 91.6 might seem a little bit high to you guys, but it's not. Suzuki is a phenomenal player. Did you see him in the playoffs last year? He looked so freaking good. 41 points in 56 games last year, and he's going to do better this year. This year, he's got a whole season, assuming no injuries, with Caufield and Toffoli. That's an amazing line, and they're going to have so much fun together this year. I think their chemistry is already there, and I just think they're going to do very well together this year. Suzuki should be close to a point per game. Next is Cole Caufield, and he had 5 points in 10 games last year. He was a rookie, but in the playoffs, he had 12 in 20, and he was just getting used to the NHL, right? He barely played any games, like in the regular season. He only played 10 games, and he was cranking it in the playoffs. He was looking so good. He was like Montreal's one of their best players every single night, and they made a deep cup run. So being one of their best players every single night is saying something. He's speedy. He looks great on the ice, and I think he's going to win the Calder Trophy this year. He is so freaking talented. I don't mind him at his ADP of 104. Next is Jeff Petry, and last year he had an amazing season with 42 points in 55 games. He looked amazing last year. He was Montreal's #1 defenseman, and he just really produced, right? He was their top power play guy. He was the guy who was always pitching into the offense. He looked great last year. He even shot the puck a good amount. His shooting percentage was a little bit high last year, especially for a defenseman. His career average is 6.0, but Jeff Petry is the true #1 defenseman in Montreal, especially this year coming up, because Shea Weber is not playing this year. So Jeff Petry is going to be expected to be that #1 guy. He's going to get all that top power play time. So at his ADP, I still like Jeff Petry this year. Next is Tyler Toffoli, and he had an amazing, monstrous first season with the Montreal Canadiens, right? He had 28 goals. He was among the league leaders in goals the entire season. Ended up with 44 points in 52 games. Now, can he keep up this pace? I'm sorry to say not really, right? His shooting percentage last year was 17.7%, which is very high. His career average is 11.1. So had he had his normal 11.1 shooting percentage last year, instead of scoring 28 goals, he would have scored 17.5. His 44 points in 52 games would have been reduced to 33.5 in 52 games. And that equals 53 points in a full 82 games. Now, that's not amazing, but I think that's Toffoli's floor, if I'm being honest. A full season alongside Suzuki and Caufield, both of them are going to get better and better as the season goes on. Those numbers could easily be improved upon, and that higher shooting percentage that he had last year, probably not going to be that high, but it could definitely be close to that playing with such elite players. Next is Brendan Gallagher, and I'm not insanely high on him this year. If the lines stick as they are, he's going to be a third liner, but he should still be the top power play. He's going to be that net front presence. He's going to be shooting a lot. He's a guy that always shoots the puck a lot. So he does have a pretty safe floor, but just not a very high ceiling this year. Next is Mike Hoffman, and last year had a bit of a disappointing season with St. Louis with 36 points in 52 games. But Montreal took a chance on him, signed him for a few years, and I think he can turn it around this year, assuming that Montreal does one thing. And that one thing is to use him on the top power play. Mike Hoffman is not an amazing player 5-on-5. Where he is elite is that power play presence. He has an amazing shot. He's very, very, very good on a power play. So if Montreal uses him on top power play, let's say with Suzuki, Caufield, Gallagher, and Petry, Hoffman could really excel. It remains to be seen if he's going to be used there or not. He's injured right now, so we'll have to wait and see when he gets back. If you guys want to know how long he's probably going to be out for, you guys can check out my injury video posted right up there. Next is Josh Anderson, who you saw before is projected to be on that second line with Dvorak and Jonathan Drouin. And I think he's going to do better than he did last year, right? Last year he only had 24 points in 52 games, which is okay. But I think Josh Anderson is capable of doing a lot better than that. The nice thing about Anderson, though, is he's valuable mostly in bangers leagues or leagues with hits. That is a category, right? He hits a really good amount, which makes him have a very safe floor in those kinds of leagues. He also scores a lot of goals. The majority of this guy's points are going to be goals, which are usually valued higher than assists in the majority of leagues. So Josh Anderson in those kind of leagues as well, not the worst pick in the world, and he's being drafted super late. So if you want to take a chance on him super late in the draft, I don't mind that, especially in those bangers hits leagues. Next is Christian Dvorak, and he had 31 points in 82 games, which is about a 45-46 point pace in a whole season, which is not that great. But he's going pretty late in drafts. So if you want to take a chance on this guy, you can, right? Christian Dvorak last year was playing with the Arizona Coyotes, and that could be the number one factor for why his numbers weren't that great, right? His whole career, his numbers haven't been that amazing, but he's been playing with a super, super mediocre team. This year, if he's playing with better line mates like Drouin and Josh Anderson, his numbers could get a lot better. Now, I'm not suggesting that he's suddenly going to be like a 70-point scorer. I think his ceiling is probably going to be 60 points or so, but there's a chance that he does get there, right? I'm not banking on that, but I think he's a decent option if you want to take a chance on him late in the draft. Next is Alexander Romanov, and last year he only had 6 points in 54 games. But where he really excelled was the hits category, where he had 138, which put him 23rd in the league, which is pretty freaking good. Romanov, I don't like him in standard leagues this year, but in those bangers leagues, I think he has some value, especially because this year he's going to be relied upon to be that number 2 defense in Montreal. Shea Weber's not there anymore, so Romanov is going to get that second power play time. So his point totals should definitely go up. And they should also go up just because he has a whole year of experience in the NHL and he should be more comfortable now. And I think he's going to have a semi-decent season. I don't think he's going to have like a ridiculous amount of points, but I don't think 30, 35 points is out of the reach for him. And also those hit totals are going to definitely make him valuable in those bangers leagues. Next is Jonathan Drouin, and he came off this whole mental health thing that kept him out the whole basically second half of the season last year, the whole playoff run. Poor guy, he seems to be doing a lot better now. He's slotted in on that second line with Dvorak and Josh Anderson. I'm not drafting Jonathan Drouin. I'm not sure how he's going to look when he comes back, but he's a very talented kid, only being drafted in 9% of leagues. So he's another guy you could just keep a very close eye on. He's a guy who could start popping off at the beginning of the season because his mental health is finally good. It's been bad for many, many years, apparently. And if he's actually doing better up there, he's going to do a lot better on the ice as well. I think Drouin has a very good chance of having an amazing season this year, and he's a guy I'm keeping a very close eye on. Last but not least is Joel Edmundson, and last year his main value was from his plus minus. He was a plus 28, which is tied for 5th in the league. Now that stat is difficult to replicate because plus minus is such a strange stat. So it's a very tough stat to continuously do well every single year. And on top of that, he played in a pretty easy division last year. The North Division wasn't the most challenging in the world. And this year it's going to be a lot more tough. The Atlantic Division is arguably the toughest in the league. So that plus minus is super unlikely to happen again. And there's not a whole lot that's more than the plus minus that's appealing about Joel Edmundson. So I'm not drafting this guy this year. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I really appreciate all of your support. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.